In a recent company meeting, the network administrator discussed the upcoming growth projections for the next year. The IT team ensures that the organization's infrastructure can sustain the anticipated growth in user demand and traffic volume. Which risk poses the most significant threat if the IT team fails to address the infrastructure needs for the forecasted growth adequately? Potential for service degradation and unavailability. Without properly addressed capacity planning, the primary risk involves not being able to handle the increased demand, leading to service degradation or even complete unavailability. The IT team in a large company has recently completed a comprehensive inventory of all hardware, software, and data assets. The team is also in charge of asset tracking for the company. The team leader, concerned about maintaining effective security, is trying to understand how proper asset management relates to security. Which practices would directly contribute to enhancing the company's security posture through effective asset management and tracking? That's perform regular audits and assess inventory, and establish a policy for the disposal of outdated software. Regular audits of the asset inventory play a critical role in enhancing security as they enable the identification of unauthorized assets, assurance of compliance, and detection of vulnerable or at-risk assets. And implementing a policy for disposing of outdated software bears significance as it prevents the potential exploitation of out-of-date and possibly unpatched software. A cybersecurity team plans to improve the resilience of their organization's IT infrastructure. The lead architect suggests implementing continuity of operations planning, COOP, to address potential disruptions and keep critical operations running during unexpected events. What primary objective best describes the purpose of implementing COOP within an organization's security architecture? It ensures continuous critical operations during disruptions. COOP focuses on maintaining the continuity of an organization's critical operations during unexpected disruptions, ensuring minimal downtime and impact. A security consultant is evaluating the resilience of a company's server room during power interruptions, focusing on the integration of power disruption units, PDUs, and backup power solutions. Given the critical need for continuous operation, how do backup power generators complement the use of PDUs and UPS systems to ensure server room operations are maintained without interruption? It provides prolonged power to PDUs to prevent exhausting the UPS power. A backup power generator supplies prolonged power to PDUs to prevent a UPS systems from depleting their immediate resources, ensuring continuous operation of servers and essential devices during extended power outages. A renowned bank in the city center is reassessing its physical security controls after a recent break-in attempt. The bank's security manager advocates overhauling the current alarm systems and introducing advanced sensors. The board members unfamiliar with these concepts request insights on effectively combining the two for heightened security. Considering the need to upgrade the bank's physical security, which strategies will most effectively enhance the synergy between alarm systems and sensors? Integrate motion sensors with the alarm system to trigger alerts for unauthorized movements, and use glass break sensors connected to the alarm for instant alerts on forced entry. Integrating motion sensors with the alarm system offers real-time alerts on unauthorized movements, strengthening the bank's ability to deter and detect potential threats. And glass break sensors, when connected to the alarm, enhance the bank's security by offering instant alerts in the event of forced entries, such as breaking windows or glass doors. In the context of enhancing resilience and recovery in security architecture following a cybersecurity incident, which of the following strategies would be the most effective for the Chief Information Security Officer to implement to ensure rapid restoration of systems and minimal downtime during future incidents? Establishing a well-documented and regularly tested incident response plan. An incident response plan's IRP details an organization's steps during a cybersecurity incident. With a well-documented and tested plan, the organization responds quickly, which minimizes downtime and guarantees prompt recovery. An organization's security team is in the process of implementing new security measures for maintaining its hardware, software, and data assets, increasing its overall protection. The team plans to implement network segmentation, store passwords in plain text in a secure server, establish a policy for outdated software disposal, and perform regular asset inventory audits. Considering the initiatives the security team proposes, what relevant and secure practices directly relate to managing hardware, software, and data assets effectively and efficiently while ensuring data protection? Okay, I say it says it's going to do all of them. Establishing a policy disposing of outdated software and performing regular audits of asset inventory. When an organization establishes a policy for disposing of outdated software, it actively removes software that no longer receives updates or patches. Organizations actively identify unauthorized, vulnerable, or at-risk assets within the network by performing regular audits of their asset inventory. An organization operates a large data center that supports critical business operations. Recently, the organization has struggled with frequent power interruptions, leading to downtime and loss of data. To address this issue, the Chief Information Security Officer decides to review the data center's resilience and recovery strategies, particularly emphasizing backup power. To increase the resilience and recovery capabilities of the data center and ensure operations continue even during a power failure, which of the following options should the CSIO consider? Implement a UPS and deploy a redundant power supply unit in each server. When the input power source fails, an uninterruptible power supply, a UPS, provides emergency power to a load. The UPS will ensure the continuous operation of the data center during a power outage, thus enhancing its resilience and recovery capabilities. A redundant power supply unit can ensure an uninterrupted power supply to the servers if one of the power supply units fails, thereby increasing the data center's resilience and recovery capabilities. Deploy a redundant power supply unit in each server and implement a UPS. A data center manager is evaluating the resilience and recovery capabilities of the company's server room. The manager wants to ensure that in the event of power fluctuations or outages, the company's servers remain operational and maintain data integrity. The manager focuses on the role of power disruption units, PDUs, and uninterruptible power supplies, UPSs, in this context, in enhancing the resilience and recovery capabilities of the server room concerning power interruptions. Which primary function does the UPS provide to the servers that directly supports this goal? It provides temporary power to prevent data loss. A UPS provides temporary power during an outage, ensuring that the servers can undergo a graceful shutdown without data loss or continue running until backup generators take over. This function is critical for resilience and recovery as it prevents sudden power loss, leading to data corruption. A large technology company has recently experienced a significant system failure due to a cyber attack. The Chief Information Security Officer is conducting a post-incident review to identify ways to improve the organization's resilience and recovery capabilities. The CISO wants to focus on strategies that could have prevented the system downtime or minimized its duration and impact. From a resilience and recovery standpoint and security architecture and continuity of operations planning, which of the following strategies would the CISO most likely recommend implementing to enhance the organization's ability to prevent or quickly recover from similar incidents in the future? Establishing a redundant data center and implementing a detailed incident response plan. An organization can notably strengthen its resilience and recovery capabilities by establishing a redundant data center. The redundant site swiftly takes over operations in case of a system failure or a cyber attack, reducing downtime. And implementing a detailed incident response plan. Formulating a detailed incident response plan is key to guaranteeing an effective, coordinated response to incidents. This plan specifies the procedures for identifying, reacting to, and recovering from security incidents. A tech company recently moved to a new facility and seeks to bolster its physical security posture. The security team proposes integrating security guards and surveillance cameras as part of security measures. The chief security officer wants to ensure these implementations effectively deter, detect, and report potential security incidents. Given a scenario, which actions will maximize the effectiveness of security guards and cameras in enhancing the organization's physical security? Position cameras to monitor critical access points in sensitive areas, and implement security guard rotations and unannounced spot checks. Positioning cameras to monitor critical access points in sensitive areas ensures comprehensive surveillance, enhancing deterrence and detection capabilities. And implementing security guard rotations and unannounced spot checks prevents complacency and ensures guards remain vigilant, enhancing the detection and reporting of incidents. A cybersecurity team at a multinational corporation is collaborating with the facilities department to design a new data center. The team seeks to integrate top-tier physical security controls into the site layout to maximize protection against potential threats. The discussions revolve around the best strategies to ensure the safety of the data center. When designing the physical security controls for the site layout of the new data center, which strategy would be most effective in deterring unauthorized access and providing a comprehensive security layer? Establishing a security perimeter with layered access controls. Layered access controls, often referred to as defense in depth, ensure that multiple levels of security mechanisms are in place. If one falls or gets bypassed, others still provide protection. A leading financial institution is enhancing its security infrastructure by revising user access controls. The IT department, in collaboration with the security team, deliberates on the essential principles to guide their implementation efforts. A primary focus is on ensuring proper authentication and authorized mechanisms are in place. Which of the following measures should the IT department integrate to ensure users are both authenticated and authorized before gaining access to sensitive resources? Implementing multi-factor authentication and assigning role-based access controls. Multi-factor authentication requires users to present several identification types before they gain access. Enhancing the authentication process requires at least two or more of the following to verify the identity of a user: something you know, something you have, something you are, somewhere you are, and something to do. And role-based authentication controls, access controls, grants access to resources based on a user's role within the organization, ensuring only users access that their job function needs. A security administrator regularly audits the organization's asset inventory to maintain compliance and identity potential vulnerabilities. However, the administrator detected several outdated software applications during the most recent audit. The organization currently lacks a policy to dispose of outdated software, and they store passwords in plain text on a supposedly secure server. Given the scenario, what actions should the security administrator take to improve the organization's security posture? Encrypt the stored passwords and introduce a policy disposing of outdated software. Encrypting passwords effectively strengthens security by safeguarding them from direct exposure during a security breach. Actively developing and enforcing a policy to dispose of outdated software significantly reduces the risk of exploitation through unpatched vulnerabilities inherent to such software. An IT security consultant is reviewing the advanced data protection strategies of a multinational corporation. The corporation recently experienced a significant data breach and affected one of its primary databases, leading to significant downtime and a loss of trust among its stakeholders. The consultant notes that while the company has robust preventative measures, its resilience and recovery procedures need enhancement. Based on the importance of resilience and recovery in security architecture, which of the following strategies would the consultant most likely recommend to prevent excessive downtime and loss of stakeholder trust? Implement a redundant data storage solution with automated failover capabilities. Redundant data storage ensures data availability even if one storage medium fails. Automated failover further ensures uninterrupted service by rerouting traffic or processes to backup systems in the event of a failure. A healthcare organization stores sensitive patient information. The data protection officer wants to implement strategies to manage these data assets effectively, ensuring they remain secure from unauthorized access. Which strategies should the DPO employ to understand and enhance the security posture of the data assets and ensure the organization adheres to best practices in data asset management? Conduct regular data audits and implement data classification based on sensitivity. Organizations use regular audits to identify the location of their data storage, determine who has access, and assess if they adequately protect it. The proactive approach allows for early detection of vulnerabilities. When the organization classifies data, it determines which data sets need stricter security controls, reducing the risk of data breaches and unauthorized access. During a cybersecurity seminar, The IT manager presented two significant components of their organization's continuity strategy: business continuity planning and continuity of operations planning. The team needed clarification about the distinctive attributes of each component. Which statement best distinguishes business's continuity planning for continuity of operations planning in the context of the organization's overall continuity approach? God damn. A BCP focuses on recovery and business continuity functions. COOP maintains essential operations during disruptions. Continuity of operations planning, COOP. BCP serves to recover and ensure the continuity of business functions after a disruption. In contrast, continuity of operations planning ensures that essential operations remain during the disruption itself. A major technology company plans to renovate its headquarters, emphasizing both physical and digital security. The head of security department is looking to harden both the buildings and the network's main entry points. In relation to securing a major technology company's main entry points, which approaches will best harness the potential of gateways and locks to ensure optimal security? Employ network gateways that scrutinize incoming traffic for malicious activity, and implement biometric locks that grant access based on unique physical characteristics. Network gateways that evaluate incoming traffic for potentially harmful activity effectively act as an organization's first line of digital defense, therefore by safeguarding the company's internal network resources. And implement biometric locks that grant access based on unique physical characteristics. Biometric locks enhance physical security by leveraging unique physical traits such as fingerprints or retina scans, thus reducing the likelihood of unauthorized access. In the event of a significant disruption, such as a natural disaster or a major cyber attack, the IT director has highlighted the need for a robust business continuity planning, BCP. The director stresses that the key priority is to guarantee that essential operations can continue with minimal downtime. What is the primary goal of BCP in safeguarding the organization's vital functions in accordance with the IT director's emphasis? A. Critical business processes remain operational during and after disruptions. BCP, which is Business Continuity Planning, maintains the continuity of essential business functions in the face of disruptions, whether due to natural disasters, cybersecurity incidents, or other unforeseen challenges. A multinational corporation wants to ensure the security of its digital assets. The IT department focuses on refining its hardware and software asset management practices as part of its initiative. They analyze the potential security implications associated with properly managing these assets to guide their actions. Which actions contribute directly to improved security through effective hardware and software asset management in securing digital assets? Regularly updating software to the latest versions and tracking and documenting all hardware assets in a centralized inventory system. By patching known vulnerabilities, the IT department directly minimizes the attack surface and deters attackers from exploiting weak points in the system. This proactive measure acts as a first line of defense against potential threats. And by actively identifying unapproved or suspicious devices on the network in real time, the IT department enhances the security posture and mitigates risk associated with unauthorized devices. A global finance company faced a massive cyber attack. The attacker successfully bypassed perimeter defenses and encrypted a significant portion of the company's stored financial records. The company's incident response team quickly intervened, neutralizing the threat. Now the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, focuses on implementing strategies to enhance resilience and ensure a rapid recovery should a similar event occur. Considering the company's recent incident and its determination to bolster resilience and advance data protection, which of the following actions should the CISO prioritize to most directly ensure the organization can effectively recover from similar cybersecurity events in the future? Regularly testing and updating data backup and recovery solutions. Teams regularly test and update data backup and recovery solutions to ensure resilience and rapid recovery after a cybersecurity incident. This practice allows efficient data restoration from an attack, reducing downtime and operational impact. An IT administrator observes that a significant number of mobile devices within the organization have applications installed from outside official app stores. Concerned about the security implications, the administrator decides to address the vulnerabilities introduced by this practice. Which of the following best describes the process that allows users to install applications on their device from sources other than official app stores, potentially exposing the device to malware or unauthorized data access? Side loading refers to the process of installing applications from sources other than official app stores. It poses a risk as the side-loaded apps might not undergo the same security checks as those in official stores. A medium-sized software development company recently introduced a bug bounty program to identify and mitigate vulnerabilities in their flagship application. The security manager plans to coordinate the program's rules and engagement policies. When setting up a bug bounty program for vulnerability management, these activities should be security manager priority to ensure the program's effectiveness and ethical participation. Which activities should the security manager prioritize? Establishing a clear scope of which assets researchers can test, and providing a secure platform for researchers to report findings. Security managers must define the scope to guide researchers about which areas they can and cannot test, preventing unintended system breaches outside the bug bounty program's intentions. A bug bounty program requires a secure and straightforward method for researchers to report vulnerabilities effectively. A company hires a team of penetration testers to evaluate the security posture of its newly developed web application. After a comprehensive analysis, the testers submit their findings, detailing potential vulnerabilities. The company's security officer reviews the report and contemplates the essential differences between how threat actors and penetration testers would exploit the identified vulnerabilities. What distinct motive differentiates a professional penetration tester from a threat actor when it comes to exploiting vulnerabilities in a system? C. Penetration testers identify vulnerabilities, improving security. Penetration testers are professionals who evaluate the security posture of systems and networks. Their main goal is to identify vulnerabilities and recommend solutions to bolster security. A large corporation is evaluating potential hardware suppliers and service providers for its new data center expansion. The IT team aims to select vendors that adhere to security best practices to minimize vulnerabilities. When assessing the security posture of hardware suppliers and service providers, Which factors are essential for the corporation to consider to ensure reduced vulnerabilities in its data center operations? Supply chain verification processes in place, and hardware components origin transparency. Ensuring suppliers have robust supply chain verification helps confirm the integrity of products, reducing the chances of counterfeit or tampered goods introducing vulnerabilities. And knowing where and how of the hardware components provides insights into their quality and security. A transparent origin can suggest a lesser likelihood of embedded vulnerabilities or malicious alterations. An organization's security analysis joins two information sharing organizations to enhance the company's vulnerability management strategy. These organizations promise to share real-time threat intelligence, best practices, and resources. In the context of vulnerability management, which primary advantages do information organizations offer to improve an organization's security posture? A. It provides a real-time threat intelligence feeds tailored to industry specifics. And C. It facilitates collaboration and exchange of best practices among member organizations. Information sharing organizations often curate to deliver real-time threat intelligence feeds for specific industries, ensuring organizations stay aware and ready for relevant potential threats. Part 2 is information sharing organizations foster a collaborative environment as a core benefit, enabling member entities to share and learn best practices from each other, enhancing collective security. A software engineer at a growth tech company identifies that some divisions in the organization still operate on legacy systems. The firmware for these systems has not seen updates in over a decade. The Chief Information Security Officer recognizes the imminent risks these outdated systems pose and decides to hold a training session. During the training, the software engineer asks about the main vulnerability of such systems. Given the context of legacy and end-of-life system vulnerabilities, what is the primary risk of using firmware that has not received security updates, thus potentially exposing the system to breaches? Unauthorized access becomes easier for potential attackers. Non-updated legacy firmware remains unprotected from patches designed to rectify known vulnerabilities, making it an inviting target for attackers who can exploit these weak spots to achieve unauthorized system access. A cybersecurity specialist is preparing to perform a vulnerability scan on an organization's infrastructure. The organization's management wants the scan to be as thorough as possible without directly compromising any systems or accessing sensitive data. The cybersecurity specialist considers both credentialed and non-credentialed scans to determine which will best suit the organization's requirements. In the described situation, if aiming to gather detailed vulnerability data from the system by logging into it using predefined accounts, which type of scan is the specialist planning to conduct? In a credential scan, the scanner logs into the targeted systems using predefined accounts to collect detailed vulnerability data. This type of scan offers a comprehensive view of vulnerabilities since it accesses files, configurations, and data that outsiders may not view. Credential scan. A leading fintech company plans to migrate its primary financial application to a public cloud environment. Before the transition, the cloud security specialist reviews the application's architecture to ensure its resistance against potential cloud-based application attacks. Given the specific vulnerabilities associated with cloud platforms, which attack method would be the most effective against a cloud-based application that has API rate limits, but has not completely secured its application programming interface? And that is Injection Attack Targeting and Applications, API. APIs often act as gateways for data exchange in cloud-based applications. If not securely configured, they become vulnerable to injection attacks. An information security analysis as a tech company reviews a security report outlining recent attack vectors against the company's systems. The analysis identifies potential risks related to unpatched software vulnerabilities still unknown to the vendor and risks associated with weak cryptographic algorithms. The analyst wants to prioritize these risks to decide on immediate remedial action. Based on the provided scenario, what best describes an unknown vulnerability in software that the vendor has yet to discover or patch, and that attackers are actively exploiting? The term zero-day describes a software vulnerability that the vendor has yet to identify. Attackers exploit this vulnerability and jeopardize systems. An organization's security team has hired a penetration tester to assess the vulnerabilities in its digital infrastructure. The penetration tester has a clear set of guidelines and is about to start the test. When engaging in vulnerability management within an organization, which activities will the penetration tester most likely undertake to ensure a comprehensive assessment? B and D, running exploitation tools against known vulnerabilities and assessing the environment for potential weak points. Penetration testers often use exploitation tools to confirm the existence of known vulnerabilities and understand their potential impact. And a primary aspect of penetration testing involves identifying and evaluating potential weak points in the system or network, helping the organization understand where they might be vulnerable. An organization recently launched a bring your own device policy to increase work flexibility. The IT team learned that different employees have different devices with varying firmware versions. Aware of the potential security implications, the chief security officer decides to review the vulnerabilities related to firmware to ensure the organization's cybersecurity posture remains robust. In the context of device firmware vulnerabilities, which of the following actions introduces the greatest risk of potential breach when employees use the devices for work? It's C, failing to update the device's firmware to the latest version. Firmware vulnerabilities are exploitable if not updated. Outdated firmware can have known vulnerabilities that attackers can exploit, potentially compromising the device and any sensitive data it holds. An organization's security team performs vulnerability assessments quarterly to identify potential risk in its infrastructure. During a recent vulnerability assessment, the security team identified a critical vulnerability in a server room, which had numerous entryways. Which factor is most likely to reduce the risk of vulnerability exploitation among the provided variables? Is B, limited physical access to the server room. Tightening security measures and directly restricting access to the server room decreases the chances of physical attacks, unauthorized tampering, and unsanctioned connections to the hardware. A security analyst at a technology firm is enhancing the vulnerability management process within the organization. The analyst receives an email with a list of newly discovered vulnerabilities affecting various software applications. To standardize the reference and communication of software vulnerabilities in a consistent and easily understandable manner, which standards should the security analyst primarily consider? Is D, security content automation protocol and common vulnerabilities and exposures. The Security Content Automation Protocol, SCAP, and Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, CVE, set standards to create a unified language for identifying and communicating software application vulnerabilities. A security analyst at a large corporation initiates a vulnerability scan on the company's web application. Upon completion, the results show several potential vulnerabilities. One of these vulnerabilities, identified as potential SQL injection, is a concern. However, after further inspection, the analyst realizes this vulnerability does not exist in the application and the scanner has made an error. Given the scenario above, what term best describes the vulnerability scanner's identification of the potential SQL injection that does not exist in the application? A false positive. A vulnerability scanner gives a false positive when it flags a vulnerability the system does not have. In this scenario, the scanner flagged a potential SQL injection, but after manual inspection, the analyst confirmed it as not a genuine vulnerability. A security analyst is reviewing server configurations in an organization during a vulnerability assessment. The analyst finds that someone left the default vendor passwords active on a critical server holding customer data. Additionally, someone is running unnecessary services on the server, and no one has patched it for several months. In this scenario, which vulnerability would adversaries most likely exploit first to gain unauthorized access to the critical server? That's default vendor passwords not changed. Default vendor passwords are well known and are one of the first things an attacker will try when attempting to gain unauthorized access. Leaving them unchanged presents an immediate and high risk. A security analyst evaluates a software application's code base to detect potential security vulnerabilities. The analyst performs dynamic security testing and static source code analysis to understand potential threats. Comprehensively, when conducting dynamic security testing and static source code analysis, the analyst typically performs which activities? It's reviewing code for hard-coded credentials, and analyzing runtime behavior for applications. Static source code analysis involves examining the software's code without executing it. One of its primary purposes is to identify issues like hard-coded credentials, which can possess significant security risk, and analyzing runtime behavior of applications. Dynamic security testing involves executing the software to observe its behavior, primarily how it responds to various inputs to identify vulnerabilities that may not be evident in the source code alone. A software development company has recently integrated new tools for dependency analysis and software bill of materials into its development pipeline. The security team ensures that these tools effectively identify and manage vulnerabilities. When leveraging dependency analysis and SBOM tools in a software development environment, which key factors should the security team prioritize to address potential vulnerabilities more efficiently? That's recognizing outdated software dependencies and identifying undisclosed open source components. Outdated dependencies can introduce vulnerabilities if not patched or updated. Dependency analysis tools help in identifying these outdated components. And many software vulnerabilities arise from undisclosed open source components, which may not undergo the same rigorous security testing. SBOM tools can identify such components, enabling teams to address potential risks. A software development company pushes a critical update for its operating system, addressing security vulnerabilities. The Chief Information Security Officer schedules a meeting with the security team to discuss the specifics of one of these vulnerabilities exploited in recent cyber attacks. Based on common operating system vulnerabilities, which of the following has insufficient or missing data validation mechanisms that lead to system interpreting unintended command execution? Buffer overflow vulnerabilities. Buffer overflow vulnerabilities occur when an application receives more data than it can handle, resulting in the potential for unintended command execution. A system administrator at a software development company is working on integrating package monitoring into an organization's vulnerability management strategy. The administrator aims to track software packages and applications to ensure they remain free from vulnerabilities and continue to support the firm's security framework. As the system administrator incorporates package monitoring into the vulnerability management process, which actions will most likely get prioritized to enhance the effectiveness of this approach? That's tracking outdated software packages and monitoring software repositories for new updates. Keeping track of outdated software packages is vital since they can often become targets for attackers if they contain vulnerabilities that newer versions have fixed. And regularly checking software repositories helps administrators stay informed about the latest updates and patches, ensuring the organization's software remains current and less susceptible to known vulnerabilities. An organization's security team has begun integrating third-party threat feeds into its vulnerability management strategy. The security manager believes this will enhance the ability to identify and respond to emerging threats, more effectively. Within vulnerability management, what primary advantage does incorporating third-party threat feeds offer an organization's security posture? It increases situational awareness and response capability to threats and vulnerabilities. Third-party threat feeds provide real-time information on emerging threats, often tailored to specific industries or geographical regions, enhancing an organization's situational awareness and response capability. A cybersecurity specialist is conducting a comprehensive security assessment focusing on the organization's use of cryptographic technologies and the configuration of its systems to safeguard against vulnerabilities. Which two of the following activities are essential for the specialist to perform to effectively assess the security posture regarding cryptographic algorithms? That's evaluating the strength of cryptographic keys and inspecting network traffic for encrypted malicious payloads. Evaluating the strength of cryptographic keys is crucial in determining the resilience of encryption algorithms against attacks. A cybersecurity specialist would assess key lengths and algorithms and use to ensure they meet current standards and are not vulnerable to brute force or cryptographic attacks. And inspecting network traffic for encrypted malicious payloads is a key activity in a cryptographic assessment. Malicious actors often use encryption to hide their activities. Analyzing encrypted traffic helps identify anomalies that may indicate the presence of threats that have bypassed perimeter defenses. The security team at a major corporation has discovered multiple vulnerabilities during its latest assessment. The security manager must prioritize these vulnerabilities to ensure that the most critical ones get addressed first. In the context of vulnerability management and prioritization, which criterion is the most crucial for the security manager to consider when determining the urgency of addressing a specific vulnerability? The potential impact of the vulnerability on the organization's core operations. Operations primarily consider the potential operational impact when prioritizing vulnerabilities. They should urgently address exploitations that could cause severe operational disruptions, data breaches, or other significant problems. An application security analyst at a software company is assessing a new software application before its release to customers. Before deciding on the best approach for the assessment, the analyst recalls that there are different methods of analysis to evaluate the software security posture. The analyst wants to assess the software's running state to identify potential vulnerabilities during its execution. Considering the preference to evaluate the software in its running state and identify vulnerabilities during execution, which type of examination should the analyst primarily rely on? Dynamic analysis. Dynamic analysis evaluates the software application in its running state and looks for vulnerabilities during its execution, which aligns with the analysis requirement in the scenario. A cybersecurity analyst is reviewing the website of a major financial institution. The analyst suspects that vulnerabilities might allow an attacker to exploit cross-site scripting and SQL injection vulnerabilities. When examining the website for potential XSS and SQL vulnerabilities, what are a common indicators a cybersecurity analyst should look for? input fields that do not sanitize user input, and error messages that disclose database information. Fields that do not sanitize user inputs can insert malicious scripts, which, when executed, can compromise the user's data or manipulate page content, leading to excess vulnerabilities. In the context of SQL, unsanitized input fields may enable attackers to run malicious SQL queries, potentially exposing or altering the database. And a website displaying database error messages can inadvertently reveal the structure type or other sensitive database details, making it easier for attackers to craft successful SQL attacks. A cybersecurity analyst at a tech firm is integrating open source intelligence methodologies into the company's vulnerability management program. The analysis seeks to use publicly available information to understand potential threats better and improve the firm's security posture. When a cybersecurity analyst integrates ONSA into the vulnerability management program, which will the analyst most likely prioritize to maximize the effectiveness of the security framework? Monitoring deep web sources for threat indicators and analyzing publicly available forums for emerging threat patterns. ONSENT involves collecting data from publicly accessible sources. The deep web consists of databases and other content not indexed by traditional search engines, which can provide valuable insights into potential threats. And ONSENT leverages information from forums, blogs, and other public platforms where threat actors might discuss vulnerabilities, share exploits, or plan attacks. A tech company plans to launch a new application on a cloud platform to cater to its growing customer base. The lead security analyst examines potential vulnerabilities to ensure the application remains secure after deployment. The analysis focuses on potential weak points within the application design and the cloud platform's infrastructure. Considering vulnerabilities associated with applications and cloud platforms, which of the following issues poses the high risk related to unauthorized data access in cloud-hosted applications? C. Misconfigured cloud storage access controls. Misconfigured access controls on cloud storage can allow unauthorized users to access, modify, or delete data. Misconfigured access controls pose a direct threat to data integrity and confidentiality. While conducting covert searches in attempts to uncover exfiltered data, a cyber analyst searches websites that are part of the internet that is not indexed by traditional search engines. What area of the web is the cyber analyst conducting searching? Deep web. The deep web comprises parts of the internet not indexed by traditional search engines. It includes databases, private networks, and forums where unauthorized data sales may occur. An organization recently conducted a vulnerability scan of its network infrastructure. The security team followed up on the results, remediating the vulnerabilities flagged by the scanner. However, a month later, an external penetration tester was able to exploit a known vulnerability that the scanner had missed. What best describes the vulnerability scanner's failure to detect an actual vulnerability present in the system? False negative. A vulnerability scanner produces false negatives when it does not detect an existing vulnerability within the system's software or hardware. Despite its comprehensive algorithms, the scanner overlooked a known and documented vulnerability, leading to a classification of a false negative.